development. The bishop goes on c4 and immediately attacks pawn on f7. Again, the best traditions of the king gambit. And now bishop f7 is a real threat, because then black had to take the bishop, and then after queen h5 check, king takes f6, queen h4 check, queen on d8. This queen will be eventually lost. So black has to play queen c7, because moves like bishop f5, queen h5, or queen takes f6, knight d5, they didn't offer much, and black eventually dropped these lines. Queen c7, queen d3. That's, as you can see, another way of developing the pieces. So white knows there will be one piece down, but they want to castle long, and attack with the remaining pieces, and they have plenty. They have still a couple of rooks, of course, queen, bishop, and knight, and let's not forget these two pawns. They are weak, and obviously in some positional endgame, white should worry about this kind of weaknesses. But in the very sharp middle game, where black king is under constant shelling, these pawns could play a very, very critical role in rolling up white's attack. So d takes e3, it's the best move, because after knight d7, knight d5, queen c6, white takes on d4, sacrificing the bishop, e d4, castle, all lines are open. And also Khazai lost to Voiris after b5, bishop b3, this king was on d8, but white could have won by playing queen g3, bishop b7, and rook e7. Again, you can see it's a very natural, easy flow, easy development. That's what attracted a lot of players. But at the same time, you should remember, you are one piece down, and that also puts extra pressure on you. So after d takes e3 castle, the best move for black, found by Polgar. As you can see, she felt very comfortable playing this line on both sides, because it obviously fits Judith's style. So it's unbalanced, complicated position with chances for both sides, and that's where she feels most comfortable. E takes f2 looks like, a greedy gesture. Oh, black takes one extra pawn at a time when they have to continue the development. But this pawn on f2 is playing a vital role, because it controls two squares on e1 and on g1. Those two important squares for white rooks. So that's why having the pawn on f2, black actually slows down the development of white's attack. And even if white rook will try to play an active role on f file, then it still has to waste one tempo to take the pawn on f2. So black, in fact, is losing no time, but creating certain problems for white to develop the attack. And of course, Shirov couldn't be stopped by such simple obstacle, and he continued it with bishop takes f7, which is the best move, because white sacrificing another piece brings black's king into the play. And after king takes f7, queen d5 check, black has to make very, very serious decision. Polgar went back. She went on e8, and that could be very dangerous, because after f7, king e7, Shirov could have played f6, sacrificing another pawn. And after king f6, queen f3, king e6, both moves are pretty good. Rook h f1, white can afford losing time, because black king is ahead of its army, and that's probably not the right position for the king, because it will take time for other pieces to come to His Majesty's rescue. But white has more than enough pieces to inflict the intolerable damage for black before they finish the development. Also, even quiet move like king b1, now it's just not a sign of genius, but just following the recommendations of the computer, quietly preventing bishop h6 check, and white demonstrates that it's not easy for black to find normal developing moves. Shirov played queen f3, bishop h6 check, king b1, king f8, and it was a very exciting game. I recommend you look at this game. It ended up with a draw. There's a lot of fantasy, a lot of great efforts from both players, but the crucial position arises after king takes f6 instead of king e8. Knight e4 check, and now king e7. So Swidler-Gelfand continued f6 check, king e8, f7, king e7, queen d2. That's a great attacking chance. So it's white finds another way of activate its queen, which already played its role in the center, and now it goes back to attack black's king from another side. The best move now is queen b6, because after queen c6, as was played by Gelfand, queen g5 check, king takes f7, rook hf1, black couldn't survive. The white's attack was deadly. The best was queen b6, queen g5 check, king takes f7, rook f1, now bishop h6, and this position white has to sacrifice another rook. I can hardly call it sacrifice, as I already explained, because if white gives up a rook and takes the bishop, it's not a sacrifice for an exchange. It's just an exchange of one piece to another piece, because at such unbalanced positions you should look at the activity of the pieces and the role they play at the very specific moment. And when black is so much behind in development, each exchange could actually be in favor of white, even if they give up a stronger piece, technically speaking, rook against bishop. Queen takes d8, queen takes h6, and now after queen e7, knight f6, knight d5. So it's funny to see how it continues. White using this limited material to mount even more attack, and that ends up with the end game. And I think after knight d7, their position will be roughly equal. So you can analyze it for yourself, but my bet is that the game should end up with a draw. The interesting thing that is the same tournament, Swidler actually played this position with black, beating Almasi. So it was a nice payday for Swidler's analytical contribution to these lines. So two points with opposite colors and the same tournament against very strong grandmasters. It seems that with all tricks that white can take out of their sleeve, black has always enough resources to defend. And now with so many losses, black actually learned a lot, and even not very strong players can study the mistakes of the elite players and defend against these wild attacks. So white has to look for other options, and it's time to talk about more positional approach. And again, this exciting, highly unusual approach, far more unusual than the positions that we analyze now, also comes from the games of the Hungarian players. That's already the second half of the 80s, after this line was already exhausted at that level. Also, I have just to mention that very often in the history of the chess openings, we saw certain lines being exhausted. But then they came back because new generation looked at these positions, found new ideas, and decided to play these positions again. The exhaustion of 90s and of course the 21st century is quite different, because in many sharp positions you have the final verdict. since we work with the computers and we can actually look at the all lines, knowing what works and what doesn't work. So in 80s we thought that G5 and the 9G5 was over because black had pretty good practical results. Then later it was discovered that it's not as simple. Now we can probably be more confident saying that it's not as dangerous as it looks, because black has a lot of resources, and now with computers and with our ability to analyze its deep, black should survive these hurricane attacks. But I wouldn't even now make the final judgment. I want again to mention games like Polgar Kasimdzhanov, and I believe there is still plenty of room for fantasy to be employed. But let's go back to the late 80s and find out what else offered Hungarians to defend their concept of sacrificing piece on F5. Interesting positional approach, highly unusual, and probably is far more difficult to refute because it's based on a concept, for such lines we could say even slow motion concept, and makes it far more difficult for computers to figure it out.